guys, welcome to Clockwork, Dance Noodles for another weekly breakdown of Dance Danseur, episode number 7. If you haven't seen it already, my midway review is finally up. I hope you guys go and check that video out. I have crowned my top 3 OPs, EDs and current anime standings. Go check out if Dance Danseur made any of those lists. You might be surprised. If you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed. We are trying to aim for 1k of subscribers. Hopefully by this time next year, we can start doing things like live streams. We can start doing giveaways. We can have weekly or monthly chats where we have a night, we all tune in and we'll talk about anime in particular. That could be quite fun. Trying to make this channel a bit more interactive and a bit more unique. If you do like what you see, or if you have just found me and you think this could be a fun place to be and get your anime news, do try to do mid-row reviews, end of season reviews, telling you what's coming your way. Make sure you guys give the subscribe button a little bit of love. Thank you guys for your continued support, but let's get going for another fun and fiery episode. Quite the fiery episode right at the end. So this week we are seeing that Jinpei and Mori have decided to return to class, which is quite cool. I can imagine Mori more so probably getting dragged by Jinpei, because I don't think Mori actually knew how to get to the class in particular. But we are seeing Jinpei improving technically and even mentally, because he realizes after last week that he was pretty arrogant, and he's finally recognized his arrogance, and now he's feeling humility. I think that is one of the most mature things to be able to do, is to realise I was wrong and now I feel bad for how I acted and I aim to do better. I believe that is one of the most healthiest mentalities to actually own. Mega kudos to Jinpei. Jinpei is slowly becoming a very good student, and he is starting to make some connections in class, which is something I wasn't quite expecting, but it's actually quite nice because he starts to research the history of ballet, and this is great for us as an audience as well, because we get to learn about it, how it started initially from Italy, but then it was actually Louis XIV who came along and his tutor set aside the basics, and that's where we have ballet today. I like the fact that he's also building rapport with his teacher and students as well, but thanking his teacher for giving him any critiques, because critiques are the way that you improve. You go away and go, actually I'll fix that, see how that looks, instead of thinking it as a negative thing. Again, all about taking things from a different perspective. Initially Mori was angry because he was getting critiques, but now he is thankful for any critiques that are coming his way, because he is here to learn and improve, and he realizes there's this massive gap between him and somebody like Mori. We end up going on a cool, spontaneous ballet trip. It was interesting to see Mori just completely uninterested in watching Japanese ballet dancers, but then as soon as the mention of the Russian ballet dancer was there, snapping up the opportunity. That's it, we're going, we are 100% going, because it's the idea of tradition. Mori wants to go overseas and learn, and we've already spoken that these Russian schools are recognised as top tier. Anybody coming across and performing on the stage and they are from Russia, they've got that background training, is going to be a marvel to watch and a learning curve for somebody like Mori who wants to go across to those schools. The high tier production is fantastic, seeing the dancers catching Jinpei immediately. We have seen that he has a habit of dozing off if it's not interesting, or it's low tier, or it's not like the best of the very best. Now, the moment when Mori and Jinpei stand up during a performance, not even at the end of a piece, and we have Mori shouting. I don't know if this is a cultural thing, but over here in the UK, it would be considered quite rude to interrupt a performance or shout out during a performance. What it generally is respectful to do over here, if you're ever watching, say, a musical, or you're here even watching a dance, it is generally accepted that you clap at the end of each piece or song. I went to see opera. I went to see the Marriage of Figaro at the Royal Opera House. It was allowed that once the lights go down, or once a piece or an aria had been sung and it was amazing, people would then clap. The audience, the performers would give a little bit, wait a bit, and then continue. So they allow little breaks because they know people want to congratulate the singers for getting through an interesting piece or conveying something. That is how it is over here. But it is nice to see Mori getting so fired up, because that's probably the most liveliest we've seen him in a while. This week, Jinpei realises that the ticket, the winning goal at the end of doing these summer classes, is that ticket to the SS class. Everything he just saw, the ticket to the SS, and the fact that the ballet that he just witnessed had students from the SS class in it, that could be a reality. That is what everyone is playing for. But we also know that Jinpei is starting to realise the difference between him and somebody like Mori, the difference between the two. We have, however, seen him improve threefold over 3 days, and I want to say how amazing that is. Even though we know there's a lot of improvement to go, that is an amazing feat, which definitely deserves recognition. We do cover the original tutor's past as well. I did know she was from a high school because the parents had actually said that she was from that high school. But it is told this week that she actually left one of the top schools. So that's probably one of those things where people work hard to get into those schools and something happened and she ended up leaving. Whether she finished it or not, or whether she was teaching there or something, we'll have to find out what happens eventually from her. But it's very, very interesting to get some information on her. I think we're going to see her again next week, hopefully, because it's been a while since we saw her. I like the fact Jinpei comes in to defend her. She is the one who found you. She is the one who motivated you to be where you are right now. So without even her, you'd probably be faking it still and trying to do this toxic masculinity thing and still try to be, I am a man kind of thing. I think meeting her has really opened up Junpei's world and it's nice to see it. Jinpei at this point does suddenly switch back again. He flips-flops right back to the idea of actually, no, I don't want to switch schools. I just want the acknowledgement, which must be frustrating to people who we do find out that this is a rare opportunity. But it also shows that Jinpei is just unsure of what he wants because he's been doing it for 3 months. He probably doesn't even know if something is within reach. So if he suddenly says, I want to do this, he probably doesn't even think it is possible for him to do it. He must be realizing the limitations of his position he's in. So we don't exactly know what it is he wanted. He did initially like the idea of the SS class, but now he doesn't seem to want that. The reaction of the classmates is realistic, it's believable, is a very rare opportunity. To them, they're seeing these people with grudges coming here, taking up spaces that would be full for people who really are serious, people who really want that opportunity. It makes them angry, and we've seen this with Mori as well. That's very similar to how Mori reacts when he sees Jinpei talking about going into higher places when he's only been in it for 3 months kind of thing. It's a very similar. The best thing from this moment was Jinpei going in to defend Mori. I like that because up until this point, Mori's expecting someone to shout at him again. And true, the shout does come, but Jinpei gets in the way. Jinpei finally gets in the way and stops anything else from happening. End up with a bit of rivalry and we end up with a challenge. A challenge has very high stakes. Initially, I was wondering if surely you could just walk away. I know it probably looks bad, but you don't have to bid your positions. I know you're not really here to achieve the top. I don't know what would happen if Mori actually won it. I have a feeling he'd turn it down maybe because he doesn't want to be stuck in Japanese ballet. He wants to go further afield. So I don't know if he would actually take it. Pirouettes. And we already knew that pirouettes initially had been one of the weaknesses for Jinpei. We saw him in the original dance studio trying to do turns and he couldn't get all the way around. Very nervous to see how far he'd actually progressed. Miyako seems to be attending the summer school here too. She does state that she's only just come back to it, so I don't think she's doing 2 schools, but it's interesting to see that she is still getting these classical trainings, this balance here. So she's doing 2 different studios, so it is probably definitely helpful. So she lives and breathes dance pretty much. Quite cool to see the guys come back and have a familiar face in the crowd at the most. Initially, I was wondering if Jinpei would try and entertain the crowd, but he actually doesn't do that. He actually only does singles. He keeps it very, very boring, but he keeps it plain, stays on the spot. It is a massive, huge improvement from Miyako last saw him. Naturally, her clapping is expected because to her, she's seen him struggling to go round in a circle, and there he is doing up to 10 on the spot, didn't even move. Mori ends up praised for his momentum. So he may not be as flashy, which old Mori would have done 100%. You know, Mori would have jumped in there, tried to be as flashy as possible. He's suddenly learnt restraint and he's done the basics, which is what the tutors have been telling him. Massive kudos and a massive proof that he is learning as a character and he is actually growing as a character as well. So he didn't end up moving. He remained calm. It was beautiful. It was controlled. Team Elite do, however, use the same thing that we saw at the festival. The audience liked me better, therefore I have won. We're closing the trial right here. It's just very ironic because this was what said on stage to the actual lady we're trying to impress, the owner of the school. The audience liked us better. They wanted an encore. She dismissed it. So it's actually quite ironic that the same argument is being used and this time they're trying to win on it. When it comes to Mori taking his turn, he actually ends up being very similar to Jinpei because he ends up dancing his very best when he's fired up and there is something at stake. When he sees a threat or he sees somebody threatening his position to be number 1, blows up into him doing something insane and he ends up doing quadruples and it's still on the spot. One of the best performances, as they say, there and then. Everyone thinks he's a complete pro. Literally blowing that competition out of the water. He's literally just won hands down. With how insane he ends up beating everybody, he's high level. It ends up making the rivals befriend them, which is quite nice. It's a unexpected result from this rivalry. I did think it was going to get quite nasty. I do think at the end as well, it could have turned quite nasty quite quickly, but it doesn't. A lot of learning coming our way why, and I'm so thankful to get some of this learning, because I didn't know this, and I'm actually happy to have learnt this. Why do the pros not compete? Because if they were doing variations and they were competing, the muscles won't grow evenly. I didn't know that. That makes a lot of sense to me. So absolutely fascinating. I learned something this week. Very happy to learn something in anime as well. Anime is there to teach us. The moment I thought it could get a little bit nasty, or back to the bullying days for Mori, is Mori's mother gets researched again, and it's the guy at the end who seems to be very sour, the guy who seems very, very jealous by the fact that Mori just kind of flat out won. I really got nervous because I was really worried that he was going to expose it, and to be fair, it's none of anyone's concern who Mori's mother actually is. I was really worried he was about to turn the screen around and she was going to be on there and it was going to be a complete repeat of what happened in school, but it's not. He does flip the script quickly to ramen, and the fact that there's so many calories in it. I knew there was salt. I knew ramen has a lot of salt level in it, but I didn't think there was too many calories, because there's a fusion restaurant in the UK called Wagamama's. One of my favourite is the chili chicken ramen, but it's always shown as being a very healthy dish. Scared that I've been lying to myself all this time, but it doesn't stop me loving ramen, guys. I love ramen. I am Clockwork and Dandy Noodles through and through. You're all noodles. You are joining the noodle bowl. We can all be different people, and we end up joining the noodle bowl to come together to create a good taste, or we all have something in common that we like anime. We all have this like broth that is anime that brings us all together. That's why I like the idea of calling everybody on the channel part of the noodle bowl. This is the noodle bowl. Loved the moment when we see Mori doing splits up the tree again. He really is the king of just doing weird split poses and just showing off, because I really can't do the splits. I wish I could. I am so jealous. I have a feeling I'm probably beyond learning it by now, because I'm a little bit older than these guys in the anime. Seeing Jinpei struggling to copy it as well. To be fair, everyone struggles to do it as well as he does. But it's just a very nice moment, because it ends up at the end of the episode of everybody bonding, everybody talking about, how did you get into ballet? What are your goals for ballet? We end up learning different stories, how different people get into it, what their aims are. It's very difficult to actually make money in ballet. I can imagine that, because you'd have to be the very best to actually get any money. I guess most people who do ballet probably have a day job or a part-time job or something just to support themselves, or at least parents who can support them in. Brush over the topic of love. Mori states that he has nobody at the moment. And then we have a bit of a rough moment between Mori and Jinpei, because Mori wants to attain a top position in one of those big Russian schools. That is his goal. And Jinpei also starting to want that idea. To Mori, that upsets him, because Jinpei is literally coming in 3 months, barely knowing anything. It's definitely even shown at the end of teaser of this week's episode that Mori definitely got abused. He was definitely physically abused by his grandmother to be in the position that he is. So somebody who has been through hell, having somebody who's only literally just walked in knowing nothing, saying, I'm going to do the same thing you're going to do. So I can understand why he's feeling sore, but at the same time, I do hope he's able to realise that it's not wrong to dream. I liked the idea of everyone saying, if you're going to do something, just dream big. There's no harm in dreaming big, because like I like to say is, if you dream big, aim for the stars, and you only say make it up to the sky is a very high place, and that's still a very long way to aim. Congratulate yourself from even having the drive to push yourself somewhere different from where you were before. Another fantastic episode. I learned a lot. It was great. I was nervous at times. I was really excited. Mori and Jinpei initially at times defending one another. I liked that. I can't wait to see what happens next week and where we're going. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this week's breakdown and my little thoughts on the episode. Have a good day, guys. Bye-bye.